All right, class. I'm going to go through some stairs and railings a little in this tutorial to kind of go back. A lot of this stuff is the same, again, using profiles to manipulate and customize things, but certainly stairs and railings are one of the most powerful tools in Revit, especially once you get a good handle on how to deal and how to use the profiles the way we have been within other systems, like mullion systems, curtain panels, etc. So just to dive back into the stair structure a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and just start drawing one. You can see again by default, it gives you the desired number of risers to get from level 1 to level 2. I'm just in a new architectural project here, by the way. And here you can define custom tread depth, and the actual riser height is going to be some kind of numeric value, basically just dividing the heights between level 1 and level 2 and the number of treads that you want. And as you start sketching, again, it's a pretty smart tool. It shows you how many treads you actually need to get to the next level and how many you've gone through so far. If you continue clicking to define more landings and more runs of the stair, you can see that it'll allow you to actually it'll infer almost everything about the landings, railings as you go up. You can be really smart about how you use this. You can make pretty fantastic kind of sets of geometry sort of folding through space, really with a couple of quick clicks to get through. That's not entirely what I'm going to focus on today, although I will show you how to adjust these. The stair tool in Revit got updated a couple of years ago, and it's no longer sketch based. And it allows you this kind of inferred customization. And we'll talk a little bit about how we can break that, take it back, and turn it into a sketch based tool to allow us to adjust and make, in particular, I think today what we'll be talking about is the kind of stairs that you might be doing in a lobby, the sort of grand staircase that you might want to use as an entrance piece as you move in and through, especially the public parts of your project. So once we've got a stair in here, again, you always need to hit the checkbox to kind of finish it out. And I'll make a new 3D view so we can take a look at this. And again, by default, these railings are pretty awful. And we're going to be dealing with how to make the kind of custom ones. But you can also, in here, go to Edit Type with the handrail. And you can always duplicate it and begin to adjust it. You can also select here under the drop down, and there are a few other ones that aren't terrible, but certainly better than the default one that you've got here. So as I select these, I can select, say, a horizontal pipe railing. This is similar to, say, what we've got in stores, or a glass panel type, and you can see this is relatively complex. In terms of also having the kind of bracing and hand railing. And so we'll just dive in and start taking a look at what all of these are made out of. Certainly the defaults are okay to use, but of course you want to be able to control exactly how these things are made. So for now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the stairs themselves, the components of the stairs. So I'm just deleting those railings, and we'll come back and start playing with those as well. So the first thing to know is that as you go into the stair profile, or the stair family itself, again, it's made up of other families that are brought in. So when I hit Edit Type on the stair itself that I've got here, you can see that the maximum riser height and tread depth are all defined here as part of the family, and you can actually define the calculation rules if you're concerned with diving into that sort of thing. I'm not going to really address that today. In here, you can actually start to define, though, much more kind of customized typologies. So in particular, if we're looking at the run type, I can hit the ... and dig in a little bit deeper to find, say, the tread thickness. So if I wanted to make the tread a little bit thinner, I could change it to 1 inch. The tread profile here set to default, which is, let me bring up a section so you can kind of see it. Here you can also turn off the risers. So I'll go ahead and turn off the risers as well. Hit OK, and I'll go ahead and cut a section in plan so you can see what's going on. So here, when we look at it, as we've thinned up the profile, you can see that it left the nose as kind of a bigger piece, and then we've also lost our riser. So again, I'm doing that by selecting the stair, hitting edit type, and editing this run type right here. So if I hit the dot dot dot, it brings me into a whole nother family. And the tread thickness, tread profile, nosing length, and nosing profile can all be kind of adjusted here with your typical profiles. If I go back to default with the nosing profile, you can see it just squares it off rather than having that kind of dip piece come down. Again, you can also control your category. And then here we've turned off the riser, but we could also adjust the thickness if we turn it back on. Say I want to make it 1 inch thick. To match it, and say OK. You can see you get much more of a kind of conventional profile with this. Okay, so next piece would be looking at the stringers on this given stair. So I'm going to select this and go to edit type. And here you can see the right support and left support are both defined by stringers. If I go to open or carriage, that would indicate the kind of stair that might not need a stringer but is instead attached to the walls. So they basically kind of go away, or you can imagine this being cantilevered or attached to the walls that surround it. I'm going to turn those back on. Switching those back over to stringer closed, stringer closed. So if I want to adjust this, one way to do it could be to go to Insert and Load Family, and we'll go to our Libraries and US Imperial, and I want to come down here to Profiles and Framing and Steel and do a C channel profile. So here's where I've gone. Libraries, US Imperial, Profiles, Framing, and Steel Profiles. And I'm just opening that C channel profile. So if I wanted to put a structural C channel, and you can see this brings in a whole variety of different shapes and profiles that we can select from. I'm gonna take, say, let's look here. We want a pretty slender one. Maybe like, let's just go with like a 6 by 8.2 and see what that looks like. So we've loaded that into the project now. We can come back into our stair and hit edit type again. And this time go to the right support type and hit the dot dot dot. And this opens up, again, another family digging a little bit deeper down. This is the stringer type. And I can go to section profile, which you can see by default is set to default by default. And now that I've loaded in my C channel, it'll come in here. It is a little too small. And I'll hit OK just to see. You can also see we've got it facing the wrong way. So let's go back in, insert load family, same spot, and load a bigger one. So again, go into profiles. This is just to go get a C channel shape. So let's do something more like 12 by 20.7. Okay. And again, hit edit type, dig back in here to the right support type, dot dot dot, and select that C channel 12 inch. And it's facing the wrong way, so I'm going to flip the section profile here as well and hit OK and OK to dig back out. And now you can see we've got our C channel shape facing the right direction out around the stair. So that's some quick ways to start adjusting the stair profiles, the stair treads. If you want to turn the risers off, change the thickness of the risers and the run, as well as changing the stringer types, just using off-the-shelf components. And of course, you can always go to do your own profiles. So the last thing I want to show just on the kind of main stair piece here is if I come back into plan. And go to modify and hit edit stairs. When I select a given part of this, so let's say this base piece here, you can see this convert to sketch based button appears. It gives us the option to convert to sketch based. And when I select that, now it's sort of broken the connection to the auto stair that I had, and an edit sketch button comes up. And here you can see it shows me in green the boundary of that stair shape. So this is how we can actually start to adjust the shape and proportion. So I can grab the little blue dot on the end of the line here and pull it out to the side. And then I'll just use a trim extend to clean it up and hit the checkbox. And you can see by default it sort of shifts the shape of the stair, keeps all the treads the same. And it even lines up the edge of my stair profile, or my my landing profile. Although here it looks like it's probably becoming illegal. Again, stairs at a minimum are 44 inches wide inside of your commercial building. So we can hit the checkbox here, and again I can come back in, hit edit stairs, and this time maybe we'll edit this landing to make it legal and to kind of play with the geometry a little bit. I'll convert the landing just as I did the first chunk of the stair and hit edit sketch. And again, I can grab components and kind of pull them out. So let's say we put a little kink in this, and then maybe I'll use the start end arc to create a bit of a landing that might be overlooking a part of the project. Delete that boundary again. Everything has to be a closed profile here for this to work. Hit the checkbox and it finishes off that railing. Or it finishes off that landing, to the new profile that you've got. And you can see how it curves all of the stringers and everything that we need to make this stair work. So lots of easy, quick ways. Here, if you make a little straight run that kind of continues the profile, you'll avoid these kind of dirty connections. But for the most part, things are nice and consistent in the Revit staircase tool, and tend to make for pretty interesting kinds of geometry in pretty quick order. So let's look at railings a little bit closer now and kind of talk about how some of the mullion patterns that we've done in the past, or the profiles that we've done in the past, can be used to make custom railing details. So what I want to do is come back out to architecture and hit railing. And I'm just going to draw off to the side here a little piece of railing so we can start looking at these things. And I'll select it, and let's go ahead and select the handrail pipe one. And you can see by default here, when I've selected handrail, this is a condition where you're not on a staircase, but you're on some kind of a landing. There's no guardrail there, so the difference between a guardrail and a handrail is that guardrail is going to be taller, 42 inches, and it's going to offer, it's going to have a handle at 36 inches for people to get around. So on sloped ramps and so forth, you're going to have this kind of condition where people have the ability to grab a hold of the handrail. So as we're looking at this and want to kind of customize it, it again is a series of families and families. So hit the edit type, and you can see here that there's balusters, which are going to be your vertical moves. There's the top rail, and then handrails that kind of make up the components of this. You can also see there's this rail structure button edit at the top. And basically what you're looking at here is a spreadsheet that defines the location, the relative location of each of the profiles. So the profile here being circular handrail 1 inch, moving down the side, versus the height of each of the different things. So it's basically set up as a spreadsheet so that we can assign all of these things relatively quickly to the appropriate heights and with the appropriate dimension. So for instance here, if I select a rectangular handrail that's 2 by 2 and say offset it, this is going to move it horizontally in space, and hit apply. You can see what it's done is created a new, it actually moved it right into where the guardrail is, or where the handrail is, but it's given me a 2 by 2 square profile, and then the offset moved it 3 inches into the space. So I hit edit type again and change that back. Let's go back to circular. You can see my C channel shapes are actually in here as well, already loaded in. Okay, so just to talk a little bit about the balusters and how we can make, say, a custom baluster shape, or how we might start customizing these things. Let's go to View and make a new profile. So I'm going to go to User Interface and Recent Files and do New. And we're just going to make, actually, let's use this baluster post family template file. So I'm here under my templates, and I'm going to open the baluster post. And by default, this gives us a couple of different references, including the baluster height and some planes to work on. So I'm going to open up the views here and elevations. Right now, we're currently looking at the left elevation. The front is the one that we're going to want to be drawing in as we go to edit this. The first thing I'm going to do is change the baluster height to be the correct one, which is 3 feet 6 inches or 42 inches. I'll say OK, and you can see that reference plane move, so I know that I need to attach the top of my baluster to this reference plane. So when I go to create an extrusion, I'm going to want this to reference the center of the left-right plane, I believe. No, it's going to be the center of the front-back plane. And I'm going to use the Pick Lines button, which is right here. And that's just going to allow us to go ahead and snap objects to the reference planes, which we want to be able to move and change as we might change the settings on the baluster itself. So this 36-inch reference plane is basically referencing the top of the rail itself, and of course the top rail then is going to sit on top of that. And then this is going to represent, the reference level will represent your floor plate. So what I'm going to do is kind of start off just drawing a bit of a, let's actually do a couple of measurements here to get, I'm just going to make a new reference plane before we start these extrusions. So create reference plane. I'm just going to draw it anywhere in the middle here, and then snap some dimensions to it from the top rail to the floor, and hit the equal button to give us an equal spot in the middle. Now I'll go to create extrusion, and again we're working on the center, front, back. And I'm going to use, again, the Pick Lines to give us this line. I'm going to hit the lock box so that it locks to the bottom and top are locked now to the reference planes. And then I'm just going to draw a kind of kinked profile here, and then use the offset button to offset it, say 3 inches. And then we'll use the trim extend to kind of close this off. Again, any profile needs to be a closed shape. And even though we're trimming these guys, those lines at the base will continue to be fixed. And then, as usual, we need to define the thickness of the extrusion. So I'm going to go 125, or 1/8 of an inch in the positive, and the extrusion start will be minus 1.125. Then we can hit the checkbox and take a look at this in 3D. Zoom to fit. Got some kind of a funny reference off in space there. But here you can see our profile is basically working. I'm going to hit save and go to desktop and call this baluster custom and load it into project. And so here, back in the 3D view, I can select this hand railing now and again hit edit type. This time I'm going to duplicate it so that as I'm starting to make changes, not overwriting anything. And then the baluster placement here, I can go into edit, and the name and the baluster family here has a little drop down. If I hit the drop down, I should be able to find my baluster custom profile and hit OK and OK. And you can see here how it's brought in my profile. And again, I'll kind of pop into a view where we can cut a section. You can see my scale is kind of crazy here. Change that to 1/2 inch. Let's take a look at the second section. Looking the wrong way. So here you can see that profile gets loaded in as the height, and again that top rail is going to sit right on top of it, right on top of the baluster in terms of the reference, and the guardrail is sitting out here, and then our rail construction is made up of the rest of these parts. Something that you probably saw there in 3D is that the end baluster here stayed as a pipe condition. So if we go back into edit type on the railing here, we hit edit type and baluster placement. Down here at the bottom is where you do all the custom conditions, and you can see the start post and end post are still defined as the original piece. So I'm going to come down here and select my custom baluster detail for all of those as well, and then you can see how they all get converted. So the problem you can see, one, in section is that these pipes going in this direction are all are not lining up with the actual location of my handrail. So so what I want to do is go into the rail structure here, and I need to figure out how far I need to offset each of them. So I'm going to try just 1 inch just to see how that first one goes. Not far enough. 2 inches. That looks pretty good. So if I do 2 inches and then 3 inches for the next one, looks like I'm pretty much in line there if I continue to add 1 inch. 4 inches, 5 inches, and then these will start coming back. So 4, 3, and 2. Hit OK. Hit OK, and you can see now that I've offset those. They're basically placed. It looks like I could adjust them a little bit, some of the angles and so forth. And now I need to look at how to adjust the guardrail. Sorry, the trash truck is coming by. So the guardrail is listed here, or excuse me, the handrail is listed here as the kind of custom piece. So this one I actually could just flip. You can see the offset there set to 3 inches and the height set to 3 feet. I'm just going to flip it to right side so that it pops out to that side. Now let's just look at maybe how we could do a custom top rail for this railing. So I'm going to go back out to view and bring up a new profile. So we'll go to new and just a typical profile down here, and hit open. This basically, this center line is going to operate as the top of your railing, and this one is going to get mapped to the location of the railing as it moves around. So I'm just going to draw a simple, line component here. Let's just start with a box. Maybe 1.25 inches deep, and let's just do something really simple like Just going to delete the top and then do a start end radius to kind of create a smoother profile to that. And let's just save this just to get a simple example. So top rail custom, and we'll load it into the project. Okay, so to get access to the top rail, I'm going to go to 3D view here. To get access to these top rails, you need to come down here to families and profiles and say find the rectangular handrail profile, and we're just going to need to duplicate this so that we've got a family to load our profile into. So I'm just going to select the 2x2 and hit duplicate and call it custom, and then right click on it again, and when I get in here, oh, this is already set up as a 2x2. That's fixed. Let me look at this. Alright, sorry. So our top rail custom is already loaded in here as a profile. Where we need to get it defined is at the next level, which is at the handrail type. So I've opened up railings and handrail type, and here's where I can select, say, rectangular, duplicate it, and rename it to call it custom top rail. And then I can right click on it and say type properties, and here now we can find the actual profile that's associated with that. So here is now where we can scroll down to the bottom and find our profile. So again, just to explain that, we've made a new profile. The profile is loaded into the family, but the top rail has its own family type, which is under railings. Excuse me, the handrail type has its own definition. So oh, you know what? We just made it as a handrail. We do need to make it as a top rail. So let's look at that again. So I made it here as a handrail type, which is fine. But we actually want it to be down here as a top rail type. This is the piece we're trying to change. So again, I'll right click, duplicate, and right click and rename as custom top rail. And that one we can hit edit type properties, and here we can change the profile for that top rail to the profile that we've made, and then hit OK. Now back in the main family of the railing type, so 3 levels here: railing, then top rail, then profile. We can come in and change the top rail type from circular 1.5 to our custom top rail and hit OK. And you can see here by default it's pretty big. We probably made it a little too big. And let's look at it in section. We can adjust the offset to get it centered a little bit better. So here's that top rail. If we come down here and open up this, there's a hand clearance that's actually defined in the second level. So at the railings top rail type setting, here is where we can define the hand clearance, and it looks like this maybe wants to be closer to like 4.5 inches. We can say apply. Nope, wrong way. So it goes 6 inches. Whoa, minus 6 inches. Closer, minus 8 inches. Too far. Looks like 7 will be just right. And again, that's pretty big. I might go in and edit that profile. Again, at the next level, you can always come back in here and and open up your profile. So if I think I've still got it open here, top rail custom. And if I just want to scale it down, I can hit the scale button. And now I'll adjust its location, get it centered again. And load it back into the project, overwrite it. If I go back into my section, now I've got a more appropriately sized one, sitting at the right height and location. If I pop back out to 3D view here, you can see what that looks like. Okay, so last bit would be just how to attach this to an existing stair once we've deleted the old one. You want to do that in level 1, and I'm just going to delete this existing one. And we'll go to architecture and railing, and we can choose our guardrail custom type. And I'm just going to go along the face here of the stair and kind of follow these edges. Like I need to do a start and radius. Get rid of that a little bit. And then we can hit the checkbox and take a look at this. And if I look at it in 3D, it's still going to be on the ground. It's not actually following the stair. What you see up here is that once we've drawn it, there's a pick new host. And there I can select the the stair itself. Looks like there's some transition problems in here that can be addressed inside the family type. And we've actually got it facing the wrong direction. So I can select it and hit the, I'll swing around here, hit the swap direction button right there. Oop. Yes, that's right. So now we've got the handrail facing in. Obviously we've got a little bit of a kink problem here as it transitions where I was trying to alleviate the width problem that I was creating. So some of that can be resolved if I come into edit type, and under baluster placement I can come in and change the offset distance for the corner posts so that I don't end up with a post right at the corner. So if I change the, let's see, I think we want to change the base offset to say 6 inches. Let's just change all 3 of these to 6 inches and see. I think that actually moved it up, which we don't want to do. Let's change those back to 0. Let's try this last one. Those are going in and out. Let me see. Okay, so under the baluster type and baluster placement, you can adjust here the space is actually the distance that you might move or shift away from a corner condition. You can also change the distance from previous up here. It looks like my issue is really in the profile of the landing that I would need to adjust in order to get that railing to work appropriately. Anyway, that's it for this one.